delighted to say we're joined by Conor McGilligan from All Leeds TV. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Conor. So I suppose that's the first question. Did that collapse in the second half really come as a surprise, or have Leeds fans become accustomed to these types of collapses?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't want to get too dramatic over it. I mean, this is a side that's been sort of unbeaten in several games now, and the first 60, 65 minutes was probably the most dominant performance I've seen under Marcelo Bielsa, which obviously speaks volumes. It was, if I'm honest with you, it was more of Bielsa's tactics towards the end of the game. For example, Bamford does a lot of defending from the front. He's very good in these situations because he helps out at the back. He substituted him for Nketiah. And then another bizarre substitution was when he brought our centre-half off, experienced vet at the back for us in Berardi, and brought a kid on for his debut in such a pressure cooker environment. And it all kind of went wrong. There was miscommunication at the back. And I think it was Bielsa's fault really for that little bit of a collapse, and obviously you can blame it on the players as well. But I don't think there's a need to really go completely knee-jerk with it. I mean, we still had a fantastic performance. I mean, this is a Cardiff City side who've only come down very recently from the Premier League, and they couldn't cope with us. We were far too good. But yeah, I mean, conceding 3 in the last 20 minutes is not ideal, but listen, I think it's a bit of an anomaly, and I don't think you can sort of compare it to last season, because I think we are a completely different side.
I can assume, Conor, that in those final 10 minutes in particular, that the atmosphere at Ellen Road was, well, tense to say the least. And obviously, as fans, you're going to be tense in that type of situation. It's a natural kind of human reaction. So I'm not kind of criticising Leeds fans here, but we talk about often how, in both a positive and a negative sense, the fans' mood, the fans' kind of a behaviour can then kind of influence the players. That when the crowd is absolutely buzzing, when it's bouncing, the fans feed off that energy. Likewise, though, the other way around, the players can feed off if there's negative energy within the stands. Do you think that there was possibly a bit of that because of the anxiety within Ellen Road, that the players became very, very anxious, became very tense, and therefore it just created a situation where the confidence was being completely sapped out of Leeds and just being instilled into Cardiff?
Yeah, I think momentum's a massive thing in football. I mean, Neil Harris after the game came out and said, I mean, he's never seen his side be dominated like that since he's been in charge of Cardiff. So of Cardiff. So I think it's a big compliment from him. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. When it's 3-1, you sort of. I mean, I was more gutted that they'd scored 1 because I don't think they deserved anything at that point. I was really gutted that we'd lost our sort of clean sheet record. But you know, when you're talking about the crowd and stuff like that. Yeah, I think naturally, you know, when it goes 3-1, 3-2, and you can see a little bit of panic on the players, then, yeah, I think the crowd naturally sort of tries to get. I mean, we're a very supportive crowd. You know, when Bamford's gone through his 8 to 9 game scoring, sort of not scoring goals, we've been there supporting him. You know, Nketiah's gone through a lot, and we've been supporting him. You know, and stuff like that. So we're very positive, and as I've just said, a supportive crowd. But at the end of the day, when yeah, I mean, it did have shades of Derby last season. It really did, and it was a complete capitulation for absolutely no reason. And naturally, I think the crowd get anxious because you can sort of see it happening. You know, you can see the players' confidence just zapped, and they retreat 5 to 10 yards. And it really is. It was incredible because we were literally superb that first 60 minutes. So I don't know where it came from. I'm hoping it's just a blip. But yeah, you know, when you talk about the crowd and stuff like that, I think it's natural, isn't it? You know, when it's 3-1 and they start getting on top, and he makes 2 substitutions that clearly impact the side in a completely negative way. The fans sort of feed off that, and there's definitely a host of nerves in the crowd. But listen, we're a supportive bunch, and I fully expect the side to bounce back against Fulham at the weekend.
You mentioned there, Conor, about the playoff game against Derby that would have probably come as a big shot to Leeds fans. But we go back to last season, and Leeds were absolutely cruising. I'm sure perhaps you're a bit kind of fed up of hearing that about Leeds just absolutely cruising towards automatic promotion. It then fell away, and then Leeds then falling away in the playoffs with that, in particular, that defeat to Derby at Ellen Road. Does Saturday's sort of result, will it worry some fans thinking there must be some sort of mental blockade for these players that when the pressure's really on, some of those players kind of capitulate, they fold? Do you think that that's something that's coming into some Leeds fans' minds, or is that just a simple kind of question to ask after a day like Saturday, which it does happen to all sides at some point in time? You're going to have one of those afternoons where it just capitulates in a horrible way, and it looks quite embarrassing for whichever fan of that club that it is on that respective weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of hark back to Aston Villa last season when they were playing Sheffield United, and they were 3-0 up. They completely capitulated and lost the game 3-3. That was, they drew the game, 3-3, and that was massive. And you thought to yourself then, if Villa really got the credentials to go for promotion, and towards the end they did. It spurred them on. They sort of went on a massive run as of that game, and you saw Villa really sort of, go through the league standings. But yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of Leeds fans, there is sort of a mentality thing. It was definitely a worry with me, especially. I think I do worry about the mentality sometimes because, we've got, 9 of the same starting 11 that we had last season. So naturally, you sort of veer to that. But I think, like you just said, it's very easy to make that sort of link. But what I will say is, we went 7 on the bounce last season. At this sort of stage, we lost the whole city at home, and that was the end of the run. And then we started being a little bit inconsistent, at Christmas, then towards the new year. But we've gone 7 on the bounce now, and we've drawn to a Cardiff side, recently relegated, and we really have battered them for 65 minutes. So I understand, but we're unbeaten in 11, and I think there's a lot of sort of positives to take from that. But I think naturally with Leeds, I think obviously being one of the biggest sides in the division, if not the biggest side in the division, I think a lot of people like to jump on the fact that, Leeds are falling apart again. But if you watch us week in, week out, there really is a definite difference from last year. And, with people like Ben White at the back and Helder Costa, who's come into his own now, he's growing week in, week out. And Eddie Nketiah, who really is a difference maker in that side. These are things that we didn't have last year. So I think, maybe a couple of additions in January. And I think I think last year has taught us that we can't be complacent within this league. But maybe at the weekend that was a little bit of complacency, and we maybe needed that reality check that we can't just steamroll every team. We have to keep concentrated throughout that 90 minutes. It can't be a 65 minute game. And listen, we don't need to win games 5 or 6-0. We don't need to do that. We can score 3 goals, then we can defend. It doesn't always have to be a Leeds United monumental win. I think that is something that needs to be embedded with this squad and the mentality.
So there's still a 10-point gap between Marcelo Bielsa's side and third-placed Preston. So still a decent gap between the top 2 and the rest. How do you view that? Do you think this is a great position to be in? It's a nice buffer to have. It does mean that there are a few games that if Leeds don't turn up, there's still a nice gap between them. Or are you thinking that's kind of a dangerous sort of gap to have? Leeds were in a similar sort of position last season and they threw it away. So how do you view this gap at this stage of the season? We are just 1 game now away from exactly the halfway point in the season. Are you thinking, great, this is a massive gap that we can look to build on over the next few weeks? Or is it one that Leeds fans are perhaps entering with a bit of trepidation?
Yeah, I think it's sort of you naturally look at the 10-point gap and you think to yourself, that's incredible. But, we did it all last season. We looked at that gap. And on the 26th of December, Boxing Day, we're 10 points ahead of Sheffield United, and it is one of those dangerous things to look at consistently. I just like to take it game by game. Of course, it's nice, but, we've got a lot of tough fixtures coming up, Birmingham City away, never easy. You saw with West Brom at the weekend, they struggled down at St Andrews. Then you've got West Bromwich Albion away on New Year's Day, and you've got obviously our next game at Fulham away. So these are all very, very tough games in this division. Preston at home as well, coming in the near future on Boxing Day. So Leeds have got a lot of tough games coming up. And I always say feet on the ground, feet on the ground, don't look too far ahead. I think that was maybe the mistake last year. We all got caught up in sort of the vibe of going up and we sort of lost track that there was sort of a number of games to go, and there are quality sides in this division who can pick you off. What I will say, though, is when you look at this side, we've had West Bromwich Albion, we've had Brentford, we've played Derby, we've played Forest. We might not have got full points, maximum points in every single game, but for me, we are by far, aside from West Bromwich Albion, where I think we're kind of on level terms, really, in terms of quality and dominance in this division. I would say that we are the best team alongside West Bromwich Albion in this division, and it really would be a shame for football, really, I think, if we didn't get promoted, because, look at Cardiff at the weekend. They were with all respect to Cardiff, they were lumping the ball in the box, long throws, and they just couldn't deal with us. And I just think football-wise, we're a fantastic team to watch, and we're getting better and better every week. It's not normal. You go 12 clean sheets in a season at this point, and scoring goals for fun. So I do think the weekend was for a blip, but am I worried about fans getting caught up in this 10-point thing? Yeah, of course I am, but I do think we've got the quality in abundance to, if not go as champions, come in the top. Definitely come in the top two. But yeah, take it game by game, and definitely feet on the ground.
And just finally, Conor, just a quick couple of views on Patrick Bamford, who I know at times has received a bit of criticism, Leeds fans wanting Eddie Nketiah to start ahead of him. And even though he was only on about 5 goals a few weeks ago, he scored twice on the weekend, taking his season tally to 9 goals. Is there still that talk of Eddie Nketiah and wanting to give him more opportunities, or is Bamford kind of justifying that starting position that he's currently getting week in, week out?
He's definitely justifying it. We spoke not long ago, and I was vying for Eddie again. But I don't know. I think it is one of those where Bamford does help the side a lot more, and you can see that he puts absolutely everything in for the shirt. Obviously, he is a Leeds United player, unlike Nketiah, who is on loan and might have his eyes somewhere else. Obviously, with the current Arsenal situation and potentially a new manager, there's been lots of talks about him being recalled in January as well. But Bamford is he's a defender from the front as well, which is massive in this Bielsa system. He tracks back consistently. It helps out on corners. He started scoring goals. He's added that to his game, which he needed, because we need that striker, obviously. It can't just be up to the midfielders, the wingers and stuff like that. But Bamford he's wrestling with centre-backs now, which he didn't do last season. He was very sort of meek and mild in the tackle, and now you can see him. He's physically imposing. He gets in the opposition's heads, and he really has been a level above for Leeds this season. Listen, he's not going to get you, for me, he's still not going to get you 20, 25 goals a season, but it's all about the sum of its parts. It's about the whole machine. It's the unit working together and getting Leeds into that promised land of the Premier League. And I think it's not all about a goal-scoring Bielsa system, scoring 25, 30 goals. It's about, as I've just said, the machine working together and that getting us to the top two, because that's probably going to be more realistic this season than someone getting us 25, 30 goals. So currently, I think Bamford's doing an excellent job, and it does say, it speaks volumes at the weekend that when he was taken off, even before the centre-back substitution at 3-0, the whole game sort of changed. The whole game changed, and that was very interesting for me to see, because you sort of understand how important he is to this Leeds United side, and let's hope that continues, and let's hope that we can utilise his strengths away at Fulham at the weekend.